Our program today is brought to you by Step Up Iberia. For those of you not familiar with Step Up Iberia, it is a committee of the Greater Iberia Chamber of Commerce, and what we focus on is coastal protection and economic enterprise. Our goals of Step Up Iberia, and we have a few committee members here in the audience, is to build sustainability in our coastal economy, maintain a protection system that's supported by science, restore coastal marshes and ecosystems, and improve drainage in Iberia Parish and a regional drainage awareness. I invite you to check out the website, like us on Facebook, always posting new information. This presentation and the previous presentation will both be linked on the Facebook page and the Chamber website page. This is an ongoing series again, and it's just to help educate Chamber membership and the community at large on the coastal issues. We do live here on the coast, and so there's a lot of challenges, as you all know. Our presenter today, Mr. Tim Osborn, we'll give a little introduction on him, and then we're going to let him get started. He is with NOAA's Office of Coast Survey, located in Lafayette, Louisiana. Tim is a native of Tampa, got his undergraduate degree from Florida State and 2 master's degrees from LSU, one in coastal and marine sciences and one in public administration. Tim was a staffer with the U.S. Senate for 4.5 years, starting with 1 year LSU and NOAA Sea Grant Fellowship. He deals with energy, coastal issues, appropriations during his time in Congress. After 3 years of working in the private industry, Tim returned back to NOAA and has been with the National Marine Fisheries Service and the Office of Coastal Survey for the past 25 years. As part of his work with NOAA, Tim's been involved in many coastal restoration projects, including first large-scale underwater coral reef restoration project in the Florida Keys. He's been working with coastal ports and state and local parishes on supporting navigation, port operations, updating charts of the coast, and working to develop a more comprehensive network of coastal storm surge monitoring stations. Coastal protection and community resilience is an important part of Tim's work. Issues on coastal flooding and coastal protection are key issues and part of his work. So if you'd like for me to introduce Mr. Tim Osborn.
Thank you. Okay, so as a federal government employee for this morning here in Iberia Parish, I thought I'd just start off with a bar joke. A grasshopper walks into the bar, sits at the counter. Bartender looks at the grasshopper. Bartender doesn't know what to say, finally opens his mouth and says to the grasshopper, "Hey, you know, we got a drink named after you." Grasshopper gets a weird look on his face, finally opens his mouth and says to the bartender, "Why would anyone name a drink Bob?" So anyway, the lead-in though is what other people look at you and what you think you are can be two very different things. And the kind of issues I want to talk about are the things you're doing. First of all, in the Chamber of Commerce, I want to congratulate you and commend you on the work that you're doing. Iberia Parish has an enormous amount of resources and assets and initiatives right now, like Step Up Iberia. You've got flood and drainage discussions going on right now, coastal flood protection. This is the very important thing. So what's the most important resource you got going for yourselves? It's you. And I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to show you some of the lessons that we've seen across the coast in other parishes and contrast that to Iberia Parish and why it's so important. And in fact, if we're thinking about only the things that we can do to help ourselves, and we're not thinking about this, the future generations, we're being real short-sighted. So in fact, that's why Step Up Iberia, that's why the leadership training we've been talking about, all those things, is to look at the future generations and what we can do to help set that stage and to help keep Iberia Parish moving forward like that. All right, let me see if this works. Okay, are we challenged? Yes, we are challenged. This is everything to the east of you. See everything that's in the red and orange? That's not good because it's basically going to be either gone or it's going to be gone by the year 2050. So flood protection, stormwater drainage, looking at the impacts of coastal storms like tropical storms and hurricanes are going to be the things that we're going to have to really concentrate on. And I know Prescott's here, but your biggest problem every day, day in, day out, isn't a hurricane or tropical storm. What is it? Stormwater, drainage, rainfall. What do you do to keep growing? And the fact is, you can jokingly say, every time we pour another cubic yard of concrete up in Lafayette Parish, what does that mean? Makes it harder to drain down here. Talking about not the fact that Lafayette Parish or Iberia Parish shouldn't grow, but trying to look at stormwater drainage as a big regional effort. And that's one of the things we've seen to the east. Coastal parishes over there wanted to all do their own little coastal stormwater drainage plans. Guess what? It's a mess because everyone's draining to each other and causing problems that should have been dealt with a long time ago. Next one. Go ahead. Oh, well, there you go. And this is your own website talking about coastal protection and economic enterprise. Coastal protection and the economy and Iberia Parish go hand in hand. Why? What's one of the biggest job bases in Iberia Parish? Port of Iberia. Port of Iberia. What, about 5,000 people? 5,000 people. Now that Roy Pott is retiring, we're probably going to see it just go way up. Just way up. And, but in a lot of ways, you're very, very closely tied to the water. And the state of Louisiana has more ports in one state than any other state in the United States. Where's the largest complex of ports in the world today? Mississippi River. 11th largest port in America? Port of Lake Charles. GIWW, one of the busiest highways, water highways in the nation, going right through here. So in a lot of ways, having this economy being tied to the water and to the coast is incredibly critical for the state of Louisiana, but also for the Iberia Parish area. Next. So I'm going to actually give you 3 lessons and compare it to Iberia Parish in terms of the kind of issues that other places have been facing, what's happening, why you're better and have more advantages and more foresight right now to deal with these issues than these right here. These 3 parishes, Plaquemines, Terrebonne, Cameron, 3 largest land parishes in the state of Louisiana, right on either side of you on Highway 90. And as you're going to see, population, population, population is everything. Next. Plaquemines. This is Plaquemines Parish. 2 days, the day after Hurricane Isaac. This is the city, this is the community of Braithwaite. Braithwaite, Louisiana, on the eastern side of the Mississippi River. You just come down through St. Bernard Parish, and this is the town of Braithwaite. What's wrong with this picture? It's underwater. Next. People have talked about flood protection and levees. You've got to have, you're going to reach a certain elevation, you're going to have to look flood protection combined with levees. However, there can be some bad levees, and you need to learn from this. By the way, that's an interesting shot if you look at it. You see this roof here and how it's bare wood? That's the waves from a 14-foot storm surge that took the shingles off that roof in Braithwaite, Louisiana. You can see it's full of water. What's keeping the water in? The levee. It's an 8-foot tall levee. You got hit with a 14-foot storm surge. Who won? The surge. Now that the storm's gone, you can actually see the town. Next. They actually had to break the levee and drain the town. First lesson. If you're going to look at flood protection, and if you're going to look at levees, you're going to have to go and get the right height of levees, not go short, and plan it out all the way. An 8-foot high levee in South Plaquemines Parish was not what they needed. Good news is, being Plaquemines Parish, they got hit with a 14-foot storm surge, so their plan today is they're building a no levee to protect Braithwaite. Oh great, how high? 12 feet. You just got hit with a 14-foot storm surge, and you're building a 12-foot high levee. So humor in our lives at NOAA is unceasing. And at this point, that's one of the issues that you need to look at. Look at the history of your storm surge events. Look at the history of what kind of impacts you might see with a future storm surge, and then design your flood protection appropriately. You design it the right height. It may be really expensive on paper, but if you start building something less than that and have to then rebuild it higher, I tell you, the costs go right through the roof. Next. Terrebonne Parish. Terrebonne Parish. One of the number 2 largest land parish in coastal Louisiana, booming. What's the population of Iberia Parish?
About 77.
About 80,000. About 80,000. Terrebonne Parish is about what? About 100 plus. So you're very, very comparable. Only thing Terrebonne, what's the difference between Terrebonne Parish and their land, Iberia Parish and your land? 92% of Terrebonne Parish is uninhabitable. It's too wet. They only have 8% of their land area that they can actually live on. 80% of Terrebonne Parish today is at an elevation of 2 feet or less. So in terms of future growth, they are landlocked. They're literally landlocked. So where do they got to go? They got to come to you. They got to go north. They got to go to Lafourche. They got to go east. And that's one of the big issues about Terrebonne Parish. So flood protection, absolutely. 3 years ago, they had 5 floodgates on their roads. This year, they have 9. Next year, they're going to have 10. Morganza to the Gulf, flood protection projects, they have been building for the last 5 years without any authorization. Why? Because they know if they don't have it, they will die. And that is exactly the kind of thing that is very important. Huh?
How are they funding that measure?
They're doing it through state, and they're also doing it through their own tax base. They actually had, the last time they had a vote on their tax base for flood protection levee projects, they had an 87% approval in terms of the, 87% of the people showed up to the poll and voted tax me for flood protection. Now, when you have 100,000 people, you can do it. What's the Plaquemines Parish population today? One of the largest land parishes in Louisiana. They've been hit 6 times in 10 years with a single flood event. They have less than 20,000 people today. Less than 20,000 people. And 72% of the workforce that went to work this morning in Plaquemines Parish is leaving the parish tonight. 72% of the people, everyone's working in Plaquemines Parish today, actually leaves the parish, takes their paycheck, goes to their home somewhere outside the parish, and spends that check. That is not what you want in terms of Iberia Parish. And so those are the kind of things that are very important. Same with Terrebonne Parish. Great growth rate. Great, you can get a job there in a heartbeat. Get a job here too. Fantastic. But the threat and the availability of land you can actually live on today is very, very restricted. You don't have Morganza, they're not going to be around for very long. Next. This is Tropical Storm Lee. Tropical Storm Lee. Flooding large areas of Terrebonne Parish in terms of their industrial base. You see this as well. You see this as well. Their problem is, how many ways can you get out of Terrebonne Parish? 3 ways, maybe 4 ways. 3, because the 4th way is so flood prone. You have access. You have the ability to connect very quickly to not only Highway 90, but also the I-10 and the I-49. You have access. And in fact, one of the things I was going to mention to you on Iberia Parish is how important you are. You are the lifeline to the other parts of the coast. You are the lifeline. They have got to have Iberia Parish to get down to St. Mary. They've got to have Iberia to get down to Terrebonne. They've got to have it to get to Lafourche. And if you think, oh no, they can go around by way of New Orleans, forget it. You remember Hurricane Ivan when we evacuated? Guess what? The world came by Iberia Parish on the way out. Could they get through New Orleans? Could they go out there? Not a chance. So in a lot of ways, transportation on Iberia Parish are actually critical parts of this coast. Next. This is one of the floodgates. And actually, that's the coast out there. Guess which way the water's going? Out. Out. Stormwater. Stormwater drainage in Terrebonne Parish is absolutely critical. They are more at risk of flooding from within than they are from a storm surge from outside. And that's one of the important things of looking at this. The National Weather Service and NOAA, you know, we talk about Prescott's being very, very calm, but he sees one of us walking in, and he's like, oh, no. Flooding and evacuation and storm surge and everything like that. But we are actually going into a new initiative called Total Water. Total Water should help you a lot. It looks at the impacts on a coastal area like this, on a storm surge event coming in, pushing water up, and of all that rainfall that's fallen here and also up above you, coming down, and you being at the intersection of that total water event. One of those things, and I want to just, not be a spoiler at the end for the presentation, is we can help you with those resources. We can help you. We've got the numbers, we've got the elevations, we've got the storm surge experience. So in a lot of ways, working with Terrebonne Parish, telling them, hey, stormwater drainage is more of a threat to you every given day than it is your storm surge. So you need to start looking at rainfall, what to do with it in terms of getting out of here. What was one of the most impactful tropical storms to ever hit Acadiana in the last 20 years? We had 0 storm surge. Actually, we had very, very low winds. What was it? Allison. 30 inches of rainfall over into we had 20 plus inches here. Kaplan, ERAP, they went underwater. So in a lot of ways, hurricanes, tropical storms don't have to blow a shingle off the roof. Don't have to flood the roadway once. It'll be the rainfall. And in fact, this winter storm season, we saw some amazing cold fronts and rainfall events that actually caused flooding across the entire coast of Louisiana. Next. Cameron Parish. Flooding. What's this from? What storm is this flooding from? It's called high tide. High tide. Add a south breeze. Guess what? It's even more. And that's just a high tide in Cameron Parish. Cameron Parish is one of the top 3 largest land parishes in Louisiana. Their elevation is low. It's enormously low. Repetitive flood. Everyone has there are some coastal parishes that have critical storm events that change the course of the future. What was the storm event that changed the future of Cameron Parish? Remember? Audrey. What year? 1957. Your mother was alive then, so she could do that. It was a Category 4. It was a little-known storm. It's a storm that nobody knew. Cat 4 killed a lot of people tragically. But it literally set the course of Cameron Parish. How much flood protection do they have? None. What tax base do they have? What's the population of Cameron Parish today? One of the largest land parishes in Louisiana. What's the population? It's like, yeah. I mean, I was going to be nice. I was going to say 8. So you're dooming them. 8,000 people. 8,000 people. What kind of tax base does that give you to work in terms of flood protection and stormwater drainage? Nothing. Where are they living today? They're not dumb people. By the way, none of these are dumb people. Where does the Cameron Parish residents, by and large, live today? Up around Lake Charles. What's the best thing we can do for Cameron Parish? They got $65 billion of infrastructure going in there. What's the best thing we can do? Flood protection? No. Better highways to commute from Lake Charles down to their jobs and back. Improve the highways. Give them good roads that they can basically make a commute, come back, be safe in and around the Lake Charles I-10 area, and have a really good job and support the infrastructure that's going in there. That's really, really important. Next. This is Cameron Parish just before and just after Hurricane Gustav. This is 2008. This is Ike. This is just after Ike, or Gustav then Ike. But you can actually see the amount of flooding and how low this entire area is with a coastal storm event. Next. Okay, now that I've actually rained on everyone else's parade, I will say that there's no secret. This is what would happen if a Hurricane Isaac hit this area. And this area, you can see, you have a flooding issue. You know you have a flooding issue. And that's really one of the most important things about this. Your knowledge with your tax base and with your population can make decisions now in terms of what we can do about flood protection and stormwater drainage. The fourth element, we talked about storm surge, winds, we talked about rainfall. What's the fourth element of a hurricane that can actually be the most devastating? What did Hurricane Isaac was barely a Cat 1 for 8 hours. Barely. Nothing. But what was the devastating thing about Hurricane Isaac? The fourth element that you have to worry about. It wouldn't leave. The dang thing stayed here for 3 days. Slow-moving tropical systems have a really huge impact on us. Allison, remember Allison? It just dogged its way across the coast. What did that do? Allowed for a 2-day rain event that just kept raining. So the speed and transit of a hurricane can really make a big difference. And in the case of Isaac, 20 inches of rainfall in City Park, New Orleans. On average, across the entire southeast coastal Louisiana area, impact area, 16 inches of rainfall on average. Stormwater drainage, in a lot of ways, is going to be the biggest challenge for you, matched then with coastal protection in terms of storm surge events itself. Next. Smart growth. Just like that website, just like you guys right here. The most important thing you can be doing, and are doing, and in fact that's why I want to again commend you on this, is that right now you're talking about protecting coastal communities, conserving your natural resources, making decisions as a business, industry, parish, region. You think you're dealing with storm surge or coastal stormwater drainage, and it's just one area of Iberia Parish? Forget it, never going to happen. Why? Because if you don't work as a region, you can't deal with stormwater and all its impacts. Don't wait for someone else to come to your assistance. And we have had, and you're not. You've got all these initiatives that are going on. LaPlace, Louisiana. Remember LaPlace, going to Baton Rouge, down to New Orleans? LaPlace, Louisiana, St. John Parish. Hurricane Isaac comes in. They don't even see the storm surge hitting them. It hit them so fast, people sitting there having breakfast at the Waffle House had to be rescued by high water vehicles because they were trapped inside the restaurant. This thing came up so fast. 7,000 homes flooded in LaPlace, Louisiana. They've had a coastal protection, flood protection plan on the books now. Guess for how long? 41 years. 41 years. They've had documents saying, we're flood prone. We need to do something about it. Hurricane Isaac changed that in a heartbeat. Where are the big new flood protection programs being proposed? Not down the coast. It's actually Ascension Parish, St. John, St. James, even St. Tammany. All those are talking about billions of dollars of flood protection, way away from the coast. And that's important to recognize. The coast is moving. You are fairly stable. You're not seeing the huge wetlands loss in the southeast, but your elevations are still low. You need to look at it. You need to also match that with your stormwater drainage coming from above. Next. Okay, I'm going to give you just a quick thing. Some people have talked to us about the fact that we changed the way we look at coastal storm surge, and we've actually made it worse for you because it's like more areas are going to flood more. And my gosh, the National Weather Service, National Hurricane Center is bringing more flooding to Louisiana than not. P surge, probabilistic surge. Remember with Hurricane Lily, it was a Cat 4 coming right at us. I mean, if this thing hadn't had brakes, probably wouldn't be talking. I mean, this thing was bad. I mean, it was in the middle of the night, braked down to a Cat 1, but it still took, the wind impacts went way past Opelousas. I mean, it just blacked us out big time. Back then, we talked about having a 13 to 15 to 16-foot storm surge, and then people in Lafayette just freaked out. It's like 13-foot storm surge. What are we were actually telling you wrong. And the fact that what we have in the past have been talking about is storm surge at the coast. Here it is. Top of Vermilion Bay, you're going to get an 11 to 12 foot, 13-foot storm surge. Well, if you're in Lafayette and you're at 45 feet of elevation, how much storm surge are you going to get there? None. And with the exception, what hurricane flooded parts of Lafayette, Louisiana back in 1992? Andrew. How did it get there? Got there through Vermilion River. Got through the Vermilion River and Cheshire. So don't forget that. Rivers will take storm surge. And in fact, Hurricane Isaac pushed a 10-foot storm surge up the Mississippi River into downtown New Orleans with a fairly minimal Category 1. That's 100 miles that it came up the Mississippi River, so it's very important. Anyway, so what we're talking about now, and what Prescott hears and talks about with our people now, is that we forecast storm surge of feet of water above the land. So if we're talking about a 10-foot storm surge of the coast, what do we hear, about 8 feet right now? It might get 1 or 2 feet if it gets here, because it's got to get across land, it takes time, and storms only last so long. So when we see a 6-foot storm surge hitting the port of Iberia, that doesn't mean it's going to hit downtown, like the city of Iberia as well. So anyway, P surge is actually something that this is your to go back. I learned about probabilistic storm surge. P surge essentially allows us to give you the opportunity to know where storm surge is going to hit anywhere in the parish with an inbound storm. And on top of that, it actually will allow us to project or forecast that storm surge earlier before the storm hits, so you can make your preparations. Okay, one of the things, here, go ahead, next. One of the things we saw not too long ago was I was sitting in Mobile, Alabama, waiting for Hurricane Ivan to hit Mobile, Alabama. It's going to be horrific because, remember Mobile Bay? It's cut like this. So you get a 10-foot storm surge coming in the bottom of Mobile Bay. It's going to be almost 20 feet by the time it hits the city of Mobile. So I'm sitting in Mobile, I'm waiting for the storm surge from Hurricane Ivan to hit to get going and start responding. Next. And everyone's focused, how bad is the storm surge, what's going to happen? And this is Mobile. This is Mobile. And this red and blue is huge numbers. This floods out the city of Mobile. Everyone's concentrating on Mobile. No one's focusing on anything dealing with storm surge potential on either side of this. Keep going. Guess what? It moved. It moved in the night. It went over to Pensacola, and it hit them. 13 to 15 foot storm surge. And remember that bridge up in Escambia Bay that it took out, and you got the picture of the truck that got crushed there? They didn't know, because we didn't have storm surge projections for Pensacola or Escambia Bay. So they're literally sitting there like, oh, Mobile's going to get it. We don't look like we have anything coming our way. Next thing you know, it veers, it goes this way. Mobile is safe, Pensacola gets hit. So next. So anyway, and you can see how it actually changed right over there. Next. So, the highest storm surge in the Pensacola area, everyone was talking about, we were forecasting only storm surge in Mobile Bay. 24 hours out, we could still have a hurricane moving 25 miles either way, east or west, before it hits the coast. So for P surge, next, what we're trying to do is give you a sense of the fact that if we have something coming and it's going to hit Cameron, town of Cameron, we're still going to give you a projected storm surge for that event if it actually came that way. It's going to have a percentage. And as it keeps lining up and it's going after Cameron, and believe I'm not picking on Cameron just as a point of geography, the percentages will actually go down here for the threat of surge. But if it was to start veering, you're going to see that percentages go way up. But at least you know 2, possibly even 3 days in advance, Prescott's going to know, hey, this is going to be an 8 to 12 foot surge event if it were to actually come our way. If it stays over to Cameron, we're not going to get hit as bad, but at least we know what the potential is. And that is what P surge is. We're not trying to add to it. And we've had people like the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers just go nuts because it's like, my gosh, you're trying to flood the entire coast. No, we're trying to give you a sense of what the storm could be if it comes to you. So, next. So, don't let Prescott be the only one who has to suffer with us in terms of waiting for the storm surge or the storm event to come to you. You're talking about stormwater draining. You're talking about flooding. You're talking about storm surge. Let us help you, and we are. And I would say that the flood protection levy district that you've been forming, the talks, we've been to you many times, National Weather Service, like Charles has been giving presentations. We're just saying, it's back, let us help, which we're doing now. We're happy to do it, to help you talk about elevations, water levels, surge models, and sharing the examples of what other parishes and states are doing. One of the things I will tell you right now, when you see the opportunity to go to other parts of the state, to look at flood protection and to look at what they're doing and to look at what they're not doing, take the opportunity. Take the opportunity. Don't learn something that has already been learned somewhere else. You want to go to Texas, you can look at their flood protection. You want to go to Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, look at them. The issue is smart growth. You're right there. You've got a growing population, you've got the industry here, you've got great talent. And with the kind of resources we can help provide to support you, we really think and really truly believe Iberia Parish has a great future. You're going to have, it's going to be challenging. But hey, we're living in South Louisiana. When was it ever easy? When was it ever easy? But we got to work together. We got to work with the Lafayette crowd. We got to work as a regional effort. And we have to keep what you're doing now and keep making the initiative here. Because if you're waiting for somebody else to come in and try to, jumpstart the process, you could be waiting a long time. So in a lot of ways, you have great potential, and you have a great reality, and you have a great future. And the kind of industry and population you have gives you that opportunity. And we're really, really hopeful that with our help, we can support your continued growth as well. And I'd like to also thank the Chamber. The Chamber is a wonderful place. I was telling you, I was just visiting one of my family side up in northern Michigan. My grandfather was a county councilman, he was a Rotarian, he was on the Chamber of Commerce. We got all sorts of names all over the town named after him. He liked that kind of stuff. If it's not the Chamber, and if it's not these kind of civic groups like you can't bring these issues and share them together. And that's why I think this is a terrific group and a terrific opportunity, and I would like to thank you very much.